Let's start looking at the good and the bad of 3PL. It really is interesting in the aspect of, can you focus in on your core strength? And then can your technology provide you more flexibility? We see right now, literally, artificial intelligence is surging. We're going to see a lot of different aspects as to how this is going to help us. And by the way, it is not foolproof. In my opinion, artificial intelligence at the time of this recording is only about 80%. I simply don't trust it to do the job completely, but I've seen some spectacular aspects of it, especially in aspects of research and actually deep dives into gathering data that actually a human might take a lot longer to do. That probably is one of the biggest things. That comes in handy with 3PL. 3PL, you're looking at the third party logistics provider. If they are on the ball and have the latest in technology, they'll be able to do a lot of traffic pattern predictions, different times to ship things, what is the best one, what is the best cost, the most effective, how to handle different aspects of it. You'll see that's a big deal. And if you're going to go 3PL, you need to pay attention to how much technology are they using, and is the technology good, and do they have a budget where they regularly upgrade their technology? Keep in mind, this is all about logistics, and logistics right now is a big thing, and having the numbers is really primary of their focus. If you have a good company and they're going to spend their money doing that, you won't have to. It's going to save you capital. It's going to save you a lot of time and also some confusion, because that way you can focus in on, this is my core duties. This is what I want to do. I like doing this. I hate figuring out when that truck driver is going to show up and shape a break at 1 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not my job. Leave it to somebody else that does it all the time, that tells the truck driver when they can sit there and drive and when they can't, and if they need to have two people in the cab and so on. This depends what it is. It gives you a lot of flexibility in having different geographic locations as well. And also, you can focus in on having the service offerings that you want and that level that you want to have. If you want to hit that 97% in the supply industry of meeting all your orders 97% of the time, this is an opportunity. It gives you flexibility in your workforce size to focus in on trying to maintain a stable environment to get your goods to market as quickly as you can, as well as having some of your raw resources in the process. Loss of control with outsourcing a particular function, you really need to know what they are. You need to make certain your 3PLs interact with your customers. If they don't have the ability to interact with their customers, you need to get rid of them, because at the end of the day, you need your customers. So, with that being said, whichever part of the supply chain that you're in, make certain if you're going to hire a 3PL, they have high technology, and number two, that they can interact well with their customers. If they're stiff and interact with customers, you do not want them, because the customers are your bread and butter. That's how your corporation lives and survives. They work hard for that. But that being said, painting logos on the sides of trucks and everything else, sometimes your 3PL employees, you almost can't tell them apart from the regular employees inside the system, which is the ultimate partnership. But that said, the ultimate partnership, they better act like they're the ultimate partner as well. Know your own costs. Make certain that logistics is one of the core competencies of the firm that you're hiring. If it already is a core competency that you have, this may not be something for you. If it doesn't make sense to do it, don't do it. If you have to lay off a department that's been functioning really well, getting the orders out on a regular basis, it's always interesting to look at that, see if there's a cost savings, but make certain it's a real cost savings. But at the core of it, can they sit down and is it a true cost savings? How is their technology doing? Because technology plays a big role. Are they upgrading on a regular basis? And then will they be able to pass that litmus test of, can they get along with my customers? If they can't, we'll look at Spartan Foods in the process. What happened to them? They had a major blowout because of the fact they had this 3PL and they had to dump them because it simply wasn't working well. You don't want to have that happen to you. So specialization, 3PL, asset owning versus non-asset owning, depends what they have out there. And sometimes you want to keep the assets and have them only coordinate the processing of the assets, and compare the cost of that with an outsourcing firm in the process. Are they reliable? Do they provide flexibility? Look at firms that root lies in a particular area of logistics that's relevant to the needs that you have. If it's a matter of they're fabulous on roads all the time, but they don't have any air shipping and you do 20% of your business shipping by air, this may not be the company for you. Maybe, but maybe not. It just depends what is their specialty. If their specialty is dealing with an Asian country and you're dealing with the South American countries, a series of them down there, Brazil, Argentina, and so on, you may have a problem because of the fact that their cultures are very different. Figure out what their strength is before you hire them, but don't dump your stuff if you're already having a good aspect of it. Asset owning companies, it depends what they are. Are they a significant size, human resources, customer base? Do they have economies of scope and scale and the different kinds of system? A lot of times, if they're asset owning companies and not only doing just 3PL, they may be bureaucratic in nature. Your 3PLs, if they're straight logistics companies and that's all they do, they're going to be able to deliver the goods because this is their work instead of them actually being a corporation that does this on the side. Non-asset companies, they can have limited resources and by that limited bargaining power because if they lose the business, they're losing their main bread and butter themselves. They may be more flexible and they may tailor their services because they have their freedom to mix and match the different providers in the process. So it depends what you have. If they can mix it up, my recommendation all the time is a non-asset owning 3PL, but that's going to be your choice as a corporation as you get involved in that higher level of decision making. A lot of times the non-asset owning 3PLs, they have lower asset to worry about, and so they're more nimble in the process. Buying a company, if you're out there, should devote enough time for startup considerations. Really, your first 6-12 months working with them is critical. Make certain you have specific performance measurements and requirements for your 3PL. Put it in writing. If you want it to happen, put it in writing, and that we have some type of enforceable aspect of it. And both parties must dedicate the time and effort for the relationship. If they're blowing you off, okay, call them out for it and make certain that, hey, this is my expectations and this is not what I'm getting. You need to be vocal. You need to be open, especially in the first few months. Otherwise, you're going to get off on the wrong relationship and it would be a bad partnership. Make certain you have open communication, even if you have to sit down and hurt a couple egos in the process. Make certain it's mutually beneficial and don't have a transaction pricing mentality, but a partnership mentality in the process. Other issues out there, respect the confidentiality of data. If they're sloppy on their data handling, you're going to have some customers that may be livid if there's a hack out there because 3PL, the good ones, they have tons of data, which is how they're nimble and how they handle things on a regular basis. If they're sloppy with their data, you might lose customers because they're sloppy, and all of a sudden now that 3PL has gone from being an asset really to being something that actually is the opposite and they're a liability. So make certain they follow the data requirements you have in your contract, that they have a solid security system. Ask to inspect it if you need to. If you go into the contract, make certain you're dealing with how do we dissolve this too. You need to have that in there, and that way, if things go awry, you can always sit there and say, you know what, maybe we need to look at clause number, and you name it out, and that all of a sudden that says, okay, they're talking about terminating this. Otherwise, you may be in a court battle over something, and in the meantime, they destroy your supply chain. You want to make certain you have escape clauses for both sides built into the contract. 3PL, good or bad, know your partner first before launching a major agreement. Look at their strengths. Do they own assets or are they only 3PL? Know your core strengths and don't give them away. You keep those and ensure your data is confidential and not compromised. You don't want to have your customers ticked off because you have an agreement with another company and all of a sudden the customers are gone while you sit there and protect an agreement that ships assets to what? Nothing, because you lost your customers. Make certain they're going to reinforce the relationship between you and your customers, and everybody's happy because it's not just you and your 3PL, it's you, the 3PL, and eventually your customer, and you want this person, your end customer, happy. Take care.